Here is the guide to the IB textual analysis for 2021. This year, your textual analysis will be worth 35% of your IB score. This is for the IB score, not your grade. So your grade, I don't know mathematically how much it will add up to, but it will be a good percentage of this trimester score, just because, of course, this is what we're working on. And it is a 1,750 word essay. That's the maximum. To score well on it, you will want to be as close to the 1,750 words as you can be. Your other assessments for this year will be the comparative study, which will be worth 40% of your score. And that's a 10-minute multimedia recorded presentation. So kind of like what I'm doing right now, you will do, but you'll have video clips in it. And then lastly, 25% of your score will be your film portfolio, where you will have one role. We've talked about this before, so you'll focus either as a cinematographer, a director, sound design, editor, that sort of thing. And you will either create a 3-minute film, or you will submit a collection of clips that end up being 3 minutes, and then you will be allowed 3 pages to explain your purpose and your techniques and effect. And the blue are externally assessed pieces, and the red is internally assessed, although that is currently in negotiation. So let's get back to the textual analysis. It's worth 35%, as I said, and each of you will submit a paper that is somewhere, around 1,750 words. We will not go over because, of course, we have word count and we can cut out words. And it will be based on 5 minutes of one of the 3 films we viewed this past week. And your task is to demonstrate your knowledge and understanding of how meaning is constructed in film through this paper, which you will study the cultural context and the film elements and how they are conveying that meaning. So 8 points of a 28-point rubric is in your control and analysis of the cultural context. 12 points of the rubric is based on how you are addressing film elements and how they convey the meaning. And then 8 more points are about your ability to discuss the relationship within the film and the cultural context. So the cultural context piece, the 8 marks, is going to assess what extent you demonstrate an understanding of the cultural context of the film, and how well are you supporting your understanding with research. So that sources, those research pieces, those are really important to gain high marks in this piece. Now, one of those sources is the film itself. So being able to appropriately identify the film elements within that source is going to be important. When we talk about cultural context, we've already addressed this, but just a quick review. You could be addressing the economic context, either in making the film or what's represented in the film narrative. The geographical context, again, it can either be like where it was filmed or the location it's, quote, supposed to be. The historical context, and again, that could be either the time period in which the film is created or the time period, what do I want to say, being represented. So let's take Mudbound, for example. When we talk about historical context, that could either be the 1940s, which is the setting of the film, or it could be the 21st century, since it was made in the 21st century. Institutional factors, this again is either within the film or in the filmmaking. political factors, social factors, and then technological, or any combination therein. So like socioeconomics and things like that. I hope that makes sense. And then the film elements, that's 12 marks, and you want to make sure that you're evaluating how your 5 minutes, the director made use of film elements to convey meaning. And it might not be the director, maybe it's the cinematographer, maybe it's sound design, whomever is in that role. And then also, how well are you supporting your observation with appropriate use of film vocabulary? And film elements, when we talk about that, we can be talking about cinematography. That could be color, composition, exposure, framing, focus, scale, movement, shot type, and so on. You could also look at how the critical response and reception of the film. So, what did critics say, like Roger Ebert or someone like that, or how much money did it make? How popular was it? That sort of thing. Maybe you're looking at the editing. So, what kind of editing choices were made? Is it continuity editing? Are there other elements of editing that's in the sort of structural structural editing piece? What kinds of cuts did they use? Other what do I want to say? Special effects, the pacing, the transition, so on and so forth. You could also look at the filmmaker's influences and intentions, or what their vision was. That's easy enough to find in director's cuts and things like that, or notes from the directors. There's all sorts of research out there available for you to tap into, and I can help you with that. You could be looking at the film elements as they pertain to the genre and the codes and conventions of that genre, and then how is it being employed to create meaning. You also have the mise en scène, which could include, actor blocking, costume, makeup, decor, lighting, so on and so forth. You could look at motifs, symbols, and themes that might be present. Narrative structure also is an interesting aspect that you could look at, and then sound. And you can combine any of these. So it's not like you have to take just cinematography. You might take your 5 minutes and maybe there's a cinematographic composition piece that you want to address, along with mise en scène, and then within that mise en scène there's a motif or a symbol or something like that. So of course all of these play back and forth. You just want to make sure you're packing your essay with language that pertains to the art of filmmaking. And then finally, how well are you demonstrating your understanding of how cultural contexts and film elements are relating to each other to create that meaning? And finally, the process. First, you want to engage in that inquiry piece. So we are watching the films. You are looking at some of the cultural context and film elements and doing some research and thinking, kind of digging in a little bit, narrowing into the 5 minutes, re-engaging with that 5 minutes of film text, and then you start writing your analysis. And then the reflection piece is more something that we will do. Well, maybe, I guess, the editing is part of the reflection, and then we will have meetings throughout that will help you navigate this process. So again, it's a 1,750 word essay. You're focusing on how the film elements and cultural context create meaning and how they work together to create meaning. You will also include a list of sources in a works cited document. I will help you with that. And then make sure that you are using screen grabs to illustrate your points, as well as using quotes or evidence from the research that you do, and we'll work on citing that. And then after you've written your essay, well, while you're writing your essay, obviously the hope is that you are fairly formal with your language, and it can have some first person in it. You'll want to maintain present tense, and it will be typed and in 12-point font. And then at the end, you're going to indicate the number of words. We will take out any of your citation pieces. So we'll subtract some of the words in there just to make sure we're accurate. And then, of course, you've got the works cited page. You can't include your name on your paper. So it will be on the document that you submit because of the way you label the document, but it will be nowhere in your paper because the IB want to make sure that you are sort of anonymous and there's no biases in assessing your work. Lastly, just really be careful that you are acknowledging your sources so that you can make sure that you're not accused of plagiarism. And we just have to make sure that you're the one working on this essay and nobody else, and I'll be part of that as well. And I'll help you through the citation piece. So my job as you're working through this is obviously to kind of help you set up a calendar, to make sure that you're doing films that they've prescribed and they're not ones that we've already analyzed. I will be able to give you feedback on one draft of your analysis. So as you're beginning the draft, I can help you through the process. But once that first final draft is submitted to me, I can give you feedback on that, and then I have to sort of let you go to make whatever revisions you decide to make. And then, of course, your role is to, adhere to the timeline and to ask me questions when you have questions, and to maintain, the integrity of the assessment. That's it. And I'm excited to see what the assignment brings. Thank you.